Hello and welcome to all the films that I watched in the month of November. I'm going to be tier ranking them from S tier, absolute cinema, all the way down to C tier. You should have stayed at home, love. The first film that I watched in November was I watched Hacksaw Ridge. I gave this 3 stars and I'm going to put this film in B tier. It was good, but it was nothing to write home about. I really enjoyed Andrew Garfield's performance in this film and it had a really beautiful score as well. I think it helps that I didn't know the story that it was based on, as it's based on a true story, and it was really captivating and interesting. Um, Overall, it did start to drag a little bit in areas, but as a whole, I would recommend it and I enjoyed it as a film. The next film that I watched, I can't believe I hadn't seen this yet, is I saw Jaws. I'm not a massive Spielberg kind of person, but I liked it. It was all right. I gave Jaws 3 stars and I'm going to again put it in B tier. I'm not a massive action film kind of person, but I really enjoyed the first half of this film and I really liked the mayor guy's little suit with all the anchors on it. I thought that was so cute. The second half, it was kind of just lads gone fishing vibes, but with a lot higher stakes. Shark. Found all the characters a bit annoying. They should have just closed the beach. I really liked John Williams' soundtrack for this film. It's one of the best film soundtracks of all time. I mean, it's John Williams. I'm glad I've seen it, but it is everything I thought it was going to be. There was no surprising elements to it. It was Jaws. The next film that I watched was Scream 3. Arguably the most disappointing Scream I've watched so far. I just gave this 2.5 stars and I'm going to put it in C tier, to be honest. Like, compared to Scream 1 and 2, this one was lacking. It just felt like the ending was a bit of a stretch. And Gail Weathers, girl, what was that fringe? And that's coming from me. I've had some questionable trims throughout my time, and Gail, love, no. This film, in comparison to Scream 1 and 2, also was a lot less violent. I think it's because it came out post Columbine, and obviously there was a whole media frenzy around violent films and games and things causing people to act like that. So films really dialed it down for a period, and I feel like it was so close to when it came out that that's a result of that. I don't think it being any less violent made it any worse or anything like that. It's just the story. I was a bit like, I don't know, it just felt a bit rehashed to me. So it's C tier. It wasn't the best. Now, the next film that I watched was the Netflix adaptation of Frankenstein by Guillermo del Toro. This was a really good adaptation. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 stars and I'm going to put it in A tier. It wasn't top tier, but it was good. I enjoyed it. It was very different from the book and from what I was expecting. There was some parts that they'd chosen to leave out, add in, stuff like that, and I wasn't 100% on some of the choices, particularly when it came to how it was filmed. Actually, the grading just didn't seem to. It was filmed digitally rather than on film, which usually gives the Guillermo del Toro films that kind of really gothic edge to them. I don't know, the colours didn't pop as much as I wanted them to. I loved the contrast of colour with Mia Goth's really bright costumes. The bright reds and pinks and greens look quite garish. But I think if they'd had that little bit better colour grading, it would have made them pop even more. My favourite costume of Mia Goth's was the blue dress, as apparently it was based off like X-ray overlays, like the hues of blue texture based off X-ray overlays, which just shows the attention to detail for this film, which is so cool. Obviously human body parts and X-rays, and it just all ties together so nicely. I loved the sets. The sets were so beautiful. That's what you get with a Del Toro film, though. It was just so pretty to watch. I wasn't crazy on, though, parts of it felt a bit too clean cut, particularly when the creature has just come away from living with Victor and he's on his own. He's like exploring a forest. It just felt very, very clean and very fresh. On costumes, I wasn't crazy on the creature's prosthetics. I think it just looked like Jacob Elordi in a Halloween costume. Like, I get that he's supposed to still look like a human because he's made from human body parts, but to me, he looked too human. He didn't look otherworldly enough. That being said, I think Jacob Elordi played a very good creature, and I adored Mia Goth as Elizabeth, and I really liked Oscar Isaac's Victor as well. I think they were really good, but I really enjoyed this film, and I'm going to put Frankenstein in A tier. Did not love how at the end it ended with a Byron quote rather than a Mary Shelley quote. That kind of felt like a bit of a nail in the coffin. The next film that I saw, I actually went to the cinema to see. Shock horror. I went to go and see I Swear. I gave this 4 stars. I Swear was so good. Give me a film with a black Labrador in it and Blue Monday by New Order, and I'm sold. I'm there. I really enjoyed this film. Again, it was another film based on a true story, based on a man in Scotland who had Tourette's and like the stigma around Tourette's, and it was just really eye-opening and quite sad in times, but in the end it's a really good feel-good film. There were some really sweet performances in this and some really heartwarming moments. Such a lovely film, and I'd highly recommend it. The next film that I watched was Jennifer's Body. I gave this 3.5 stars, and I'm going to put it in B tier. To me, this film was so quintessentially 2000s. It was Twilight. It was Buffy the Vampire Slayer kind of vibes, but with Megan Fox and Amanda Seyfried. I enjoyed this film more than I thought I was going to. I thought I knew basically what this film was about, but it did have a couple of surprises and a couple of things I wasn't expecting, like the really over the top demon effects, like Megan Fox's character being possessed by a demon, how she can just levitate in the air or just throws up black stuff everywhere. It wasn't the best film I've ever seen, but it was a decent film and it was a bit of fun. I liked all the sort of 2000s nostalgia around it. Like it had the Fall Out Boy posters in a bedroom and the Panic at the Disco soundtrack. Like it's a bit cheesy, but I enjoyed it. The next film that I watched, guys, it's a 5 star. It's an S tier. Ready or Not with Samara Weaving. This film was so good. It was like you'd blended up an Agatha Christie novel, particularly, and then there were none, then Knives Out, and then Saltburn to come out with such a great film. All the characters were impeccable. Like they were just so good at either being evil or being a victim. Like they were just, oh, they were so likable, and I enjoyed this film so much. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's about Samara Weaving marrying into this rich family, and they have all these weird traditions, and it's almost kind of like a cult, and about her trying to escape. The ending is so goofy and silly and such a plot twist that I wasn't expecting. First watched it, I was like, right, okay, not necessary, but on reflection, I do actually quite like the ending. I think it married up to the film well, and for that reason, Ready or Not, it's S tier. I'd highly, highly recommend this film. The next film that I watched was The Velocipasta. I just saw this on Amazon Prime and it was like, it wasn't that long. I thought it just looks so stupid, so I'll just stick it on. Yeah, it's 1.5 stars. It's D tier, guys. It's like a 2000s YouTube video if it somehow got made into a film, but with the same budget. Like the budget for this one it wasn't there. But it did lend to some quite funny moments. Like there's a bit where there's supposed to be a car fire, but they don't have the money for the effects for it. So it just says text on screen that just says VFX, car on fire. Like it's so on the nose. I quite liked that. But as a whole, it's just awful. It's just an awful film, but in the best way. Like you can laugh at it. But in terms of cinema, oh, it's absolute codswallop. Absolute codswallop. The next film that I watched was Spree. Spree, I gave 3.5 stars, and I'm going to put it in B tier. It was about a guy wanting to become big on YouTube, and it's all filmed through his phone on live streams on Instagram, YouTube, and stuff. And about him becoming an Uber driver, and he starts killing passengers, but it's all on live stream. I really like the concept, but I feel like this just needed to be a short film. It didn't need to be as long as it was. Towards the end, it was getting a bit dragged out and I was getting a bit uninterested. The novelty had kind of worn off, but as a whole, I'd recommend it just for the concept. It's quite cool. And it's Joe Keery, it's your Stranger Things DGO guy. The next one that I watched is arguably one of the worst films I've watched in quite a while. I had such high hopes for this film. Woman of the Hour. I gave this 1 star and it's D tier. This is produced by, and one of the main characters is Anna Kendrick, and it's based on Rodney Alcala, who was a serial killer in America in the 70s, I believe. And it's such a gripping story, what happened with Rodney Alcala and how awful all of his crimes were. So really the plot should have been there. They had so much to work with and so much they could have done, amplify the victims' voices and things, but it just didn't really hit the mark for me. There was so many different storylines for different victims and time jumps between those different victims as well, that it just didn't really marry up very well for me. And I didn't feel connected to any of the characters. I just felt like it was done a bit poorly, to be honest, and it could have been really, really good, but I think it just fell a bit flat, to be honest, and I wasn't crazy on it, and I wouldn't recommend it. The last film that I watched was A Bird Flew Into My Window and Now I'm a Lesbian. This was a short film on YouTube, a little stop motion, and I gave this 3 stars. I'm going to put it in B tier. This was a really sweet little stop motion film. I really enjoyed the stop motion. It was really pretty to watch, and the craft behind it, it just was so beautiful. But the story felt a little bit kind of like try hard edgy to me. I don't know if that sounds mean, but that's how it felt. As a short, it stands alone as a really nice, sweet little short, and I would recommend it, even just to stick on, just to watch the animation. It's really pretty. And yeah, that's everything that I watched in November. This is my final tier list ranking. Let me know what you think. Is there any controversial takes here? I think the most controversial take would be that I've put Jaws in B tier, and I think it's a bit average. And it's coming up to December, which means it's Christmas time. So give me some Christmas film recommendations so I don't just sit and watch Muppet Christmas Carol about 5,000 times, because it is the best Christmas film. That's everything for this video. I hope you look after yourselves, take care, and I'll see you for everything that I watched in December.